Video game adaptations never go well. Like 98% of them are crap. They're terrible. They never work out. Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, the Resident Evil movies, I need to go on. But occasionally, there is a good adaptation. So today we're going to be talking about the good stuff and the bad stuff. Bang, bing bang bosh. So as I was saying, video game adaptations don't usually go well. You've got the movies and then you've got the TV shows. You occasionally get some pretty good ones, okay? You get Sonic the Hedgehog every now and then. Pretty fun film. Creative, kind of unique, definitely a different take on the whole Sonic thing, but it was an entertaining film. Eventually you got a sequel that was also entertaining, and Jim Carrey just kills it. He's great as Eggman. Then you got schlock like Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed, the movie, the Michael Fassbender movie. Michael Fassbender, why did you sign up for that piece of shit, okay? Well, why? Why? Are you not a fan of the games? Why are you doing it? Stop it. But Assassin's Creed is definitely one of the best examples of how not to adapt a video game, okay? You take all the creative parts of it, you take all the aspects that fans actually like, and you schlock it together with no real care, and it's a boring movie. There is an idea in my head that could have been done way better. I'll explain it in just a minute, but it seems like we might be getting it in the Netflix show that's being made right now. But the Assassin's Creed movie is not great, okay? But even worse is Uncharted, okay? Uncharted, the cast of Uncharted makes no sense. Okay, you've got Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. It just doesn't work. I like Tom Holland, okay? Do I think he's a brilliant actor? Not particularly. I think he's okay. I think he's pretty good. He plays Spider-Man pretty good, but in those other films that I've watched, he's not particularly, invigorating. He hasn't got much screen presence for me, anyway. I liked him in the... What's that disaster movie called? It's the one about the tsunami when Tom Holland's like 12 years old. He's good in that as well. But Uncharted, the movie, just does not work in pretty much every aspect as an Uncharted film. First off, the casting is all wrong. As I said, Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I'm sorry, buddy. Does not work. Does not work. I'm surprised you're getting a sequel. Sully. Mark Wahlberg as Sully. What? What? I know for a fact Mark Wahlberg did not give a shit about this movie. But clearly the casting director didn't either. Because Mark Wahlberg, why? Why? You've got the IP of Uncharted. That sells alone. It's one of the most popular gaming franchises ever made. You don't need to just cast big stars to get people in seats, okay? There's already an audience out there that's going to watch this film. So just cast it properly. But instead they chose to go for star power. And Mark Wahlberg, trust me, is, he's a star, I guess. He's also got quite a controversial background, but he's a decent actor. Decent. I'll say decent. He deserves some absolute stinkers. Most of his career is absolute stinkers. But hey, he was good in The Fighter. If you haven't watched The Fighter, Christian Bale plays as Mark Wahlberg's brother. It's a true story, and that film's actually really good. That film is really good. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Uncharted itself is such a weird movie adaptation, because what they do is, spoilers I guess, I mean there's not much to spoil, they take Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4, and they slap it all together for Tom Holland's Nathan Drake's origin story. Yeah, so they take 4 games worth of stories, yeah, and they combine it into one. So God knows what they're doing for the sequel. It makes no sense. Obviously they don't tell the story anywhere near as good as the games. They just basically nick all the set pieces from the games and just use them for fan service, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work in any shape, way or form. It just doesn't work. It sucks. But then, as I was saying, you've got Sonic the Hedgehog, which takes the IP, respects the IP, and does something different with it. In my mind, a Sonic movie would never work in live action. It just doesn't make any sense. The character of Sonic in live action just seems weird, and it is weird. So my idea of a Sonic film would be animated, or just something that isn't live action. But for whatever reason, the director, the studio behind it, they're like, no, we're going to do a live action Sonic film. Fair enough, Sonic the Hedgehog, let's go. And it worked out pretty well because they did something different with it. They did something unique with it. They didn't take stuff from the games or any of the stories like that thank God, because some of the stories are ass. But yeah. But they did something completely unique, okay? They put him in there, they just did their own thing. The story isn't great, let's be honest, but it's a kid's film, and it's really entertaining. And the Sonic design, thank God they changed it from the original trailer, the Sonic design is really good, and I think overall it's an entertaining film, yeah? Do I think it's a masterpiece? Absolutely not, but compared to, all these other video game adaptations, fuck yeah, it's a masterpiece, it's great, it's fun, it's a good laugh, it's a good laugh. It came out in 2017, it was a good laugh, man. Was it 2017 or 19? I can't remember. I think it was right before COVID hit. Yeah, it must have been 2019 then. But this is just the point. It doesn't matter what IP you're adapting. It could be Uncharted, it could be The Last of Us, it could be I don't know, Resident Evil or Sonic the Hedgehog or Assassin's Creed. It doesn't matter. The IP doesn't matter. It's the way you adapt it that matters. It really is that simple. You don't need to adapt the stories of the games. You can do something creative. You can do something unique. And in terms of Assassin's Creed, they tried to do that, but they missed the point of the entire series. So, Michael Fassbender is in modern day, right? He goes into the Animus, he goes and lives his ancestors' lives, and the movie ends. Yeah, the action's pretty shit, the story's pretty shit, the acting's pretty shit, the set locations, the set design, all that stuff. I'll give set design a little bump up because they are doing the history stuff. So I'll give that a pass. But everything else is pretty shit. Soundtrack's shit as well. So my idea of like a good Assassin's Creed adaptation is to just do a show or maybe a 2-hour movie. I think it could work in a 2-hour movie. Just focus on one protagonist, right? And you do the first like 3-4 games with one character, okay? So you're going in the same like part of history, but you spread it over like 50-60 years like they did with Ezio, okay? And you do that for like, I don't know, 2 hours or 7 episodes of a show or something, and you just tell a consistent story focused on one specific time period, but just spread it out across, a century, and just tell a really great story that way. That way the audience can latch onto the characters, you can get a beginning, middle, and end, and you can also build the lore of the Assassins and Templars for casual audiences that may have not played the game. It's that simple. Big man bosh. Just do that. But they didn't. They chose to make a 2-hour movie focused on a specific character that is set in the same place the entire time with no like phase of progression or anything like that, and then the movie ends. It's a very, very weird take, and I'm hoping the show will be much better. But let's be honest, it probably won't be. But that brings me on to The Last of Us, okay? This is the big one. I know a lot of people love the adaptation of The Last of Us. They love Pedro Pascal, they love Ella Ramsey, they love everything about it. I'm not in that category. I think The Last of Us is okay. I think the show is okay. Chernobyl, if you haven't watched Chernobyl yet, is way better than it. Way, way, way better because of the way it's done, the way it's produced. The soundtrack, the acting, the set design, like all of it just feels better to me. But The Last of Us adaptation, it's definitely the best adaptation of a gaming franchise we've ever had, I think anyway. But I definitely think it could be improved. You see, the game, it's not because I already played the game. That's not what it is, okay? The show it takes a different approach of hitting you with these emotional moments. Like the first episode is very, very similar to the game, except you've got like the build up. You've got, I think it was done better in the show actually this time. But then you got Sarah's death, which I think is basically a carbon copy of the game in a lot of ways, apart from the plane crash. That was pretty weird. I think that was a bit over the top, it is what it is, it's a show. But after that, each episode they take more risks with how they adapt the story. And I actually really like that, but it didn't hit as hard for me. I do like Pedro Pascal as Joel, and I do like Bella Ramsey as Ellie, but I also think that Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson had better chemistry when it comes to this stuff. Obviously, Troy and Ashley had the benefit of it, just being in a make-believe world, essentially, when they were filming it. There was no sets or anything. They could just go off each other constantly, if that didn't work, the game wouldn't work, you know what I mean? But the show has the luxury of having all these set design around them, working with other actors all over the place, getting a chance to rewrite scenes that may have not been paced particularly well in the game, add a bit more backstory to Bill, and I do really like the adaptation. I'm not saying it's bad at all, but for me, I would have preferred if they stuck closer to the show, which is me being kind of hypocritical when it was saying about the Sonic Hedgehog or Assassin's Creed or something like that. But that's the thing, depending on the franchise, you don't necessarily need to adapt the game, but then there are times where you probably just should adapt the game. You know what I mean? You've also got the thing with toxic fan bases. This is less important because the reality is you could be a toxic fan base, you could be, part of a community that is super toxic and you want to gatekeep stuff, but it's never going to work. No one cares. If there's money to be made, money's going to be made. Fuck your opinion. Do you know what I mean? So that is an element of it, but then you've got harassment and, people that are just never happy with anything. And I'd say, I'm kind of in that boat, I guess, with The Last of Us show. I don't think it's bad at all, but I definitely for me, I did want something different. So I guess I'm technically in that sweet spot of between toxic and critical, you know what I mean? But, that's just me. But the reality is, The Last of Us is definitely the best adaptation we've had. Now we've got a God of War show coming in, which is, I don't know if they're going to be adapting the original God of War stuff, so all the, you know, Zeus, Poseidon, all that crap, or Ragnarok and God of War 2018, which is, you know, going into more like Thor's, Odin stuff, all that territory. It completely, I mean, it would make sense to adapt the original stuff first, then adapt the 2018 stuff, because, you know, the character development. But the reason I made this video is because I can definitely see a really good future for video game adaptations in movies and shows. We've had the terrible ones in the early 2000s, late 1990s, all that stuff. And now we're finally entering an era where people that are in the industry have grown up on these games, have grown up on video games, understand how they work, understand how the storytelling works, understanding how to adapt it properly, rather than just bringing in some 60-year-old that's never touched a game in his life to adapt a video game, you know what I mean? So I definitely think the future of video game adaptations are in a much better spot now, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the industry does with it. But that being said, you can always have some stinkers. I think the next 10 years is really going to decide whether video game adaptations are here to stay, because a lot of people are saying that's going to be the next big thing. Superhero stuff is dying off. Now we need to do video game adaptations. I'm like, that's not how it works, mate. Video game adaptations and superhero adaptations are very different. Very different. I mean, kind of a no-brainer, but people are saying it anyway. But yeah, basically, the future is looking pretty bright for video game adaptations, and I could definitely see some stinkers coming. But you know, it is what it is. It happens. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So what do you think? Leave your comments down below. Do you agree? Disagree with me? What do you think about The Last of Us? What do you think about Sonic? What do you think about Assassin's Creed? Just leave your comments down below. I think it'd be very interesting to talk about. And yeah, just like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to stick with the sticky man.